Hello, everybody. I am so pumped about this next episode. Again, my cat is sleeping right next to me. I feel like it's going to become like a normal thing now where my cat is just, do you see him? He's just there. He's so cute. Zoom in. Oh. So we are starting something super exciting on the show. And basically what's happening is I'm going to do an Enneagram series, which I'm so pumped about. If you don't know what the Enneagram is, it's basically another one of those personality tests. But what I love about the Enneagram is that I feel like it's a lot more accurate than a lot of the other ones out there. And it helps you kind of figure out your strengths and weaknesses, something you can work on, but also understanding why you do the things you do, and why you are the way that you are sometimes. Again, it's not like I don't want to put anybody in a box, and I don't even think that that's what the Enneagram is meant for, but it is a helpful tool in just understanding each other and loving each other better. And it's even helped me understand my husband better, which he will be on the show a little later. He is a 7, so we're going to be able to interview him, and I'm going to have a man and a woman from each number, and just to kind of get to different perspectives. And I'm so pumped. And this first episode is the 9s, and I'm a 9, so I'm so excited for this. So I'm going to be sharing for each type the core fear, core desire, core weakness, and core longing, so that you can kind of have an idea of what the personality type is. And maybe after you hear all of the podcasts, you can kind of have an idea of what you are if you haven't taken the quiz yet, or if you haven't looked into it that much. So for a 9, and I'm reading it off my laptop, even though I am a 9, I should know this. I always forget, and I want to make sure I get it right. For a 9, the core fear is being in conflict, tension, or discord, feeling shut out and overlooked, or losing connection with others. Their core desire is having inner stability and peace of mind. Their core weakness is slothfulness, and that is remaining in an unrealistic and idealistic world in order to keep the peace, remain easygoing, and not be disturbed by their anger, falling asleep to their passions, abilities, desires, needs, and worth by merging with others. And the core longing is your presence matters. So that's just kind of a little bit of the 9. So I hope you kind of have a little bit of an idea of who we are and just kind of like what we struggle with. And we're going to go way more into depth with this interview. So I'm super pumped. I hope you guys enjoy it. Here is our awesome conversation with Brian Castro and Emily Schutz. Thanks so much for doing this. I'm so excited for this. Y'all are my first Enneagram guests. I got this idea from, I don't know if you guys heard of Annie F. Downs, but she does a podcast called That Sounds Fun. She knows like a ton of people, so she's had a ton of people on. And so she does this thing every summer called the Summer Enneagram. And then so she gets a guy and a girl from each number, and she just interviews them and asks them questions. So you guys are my first ones. And it's so funny because I'm also a 9, so all 3 of us are here.
House.
Hey, house. So I'm so excited because I feel like 9s sometimes can be misinterpreted in a way. Well, I guess all the numbers, but 9s, I feel like it could be like people could have ideas that are not, they don't understand like what, and obviously we're not in a box, right? Like this is a tool that people use, but I feel like there's so many things that people don't know. So I'm so excited to ask y'all. Before we start though, we can start with Emily and then Brian, but introduce yourself. What do you do? Who are you?
Yes. Hello, I am Emily. Do I need to say my last name? I can say my last name.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm Emily Schutz. I work full-time with Chi Alpha. I'm a campus missionary for Angelo State University.
Cool. That's so exciting. Do you know what the fall's going to look like for y'all?
Oh my gosh. I wish I knew.
Same.
We spend I think every week at staff meeting brainstorming, and then the next week things change, and so we just take it week by week. But
Yeah.
we have some ideas, some backup plans, and then backup plans for our backup plans.
Yeah.
So.
That is us right now. We're like we don't know what's going on. So cool. Brian.
Yeah, so my name is Brian. I work at Faith Church here in Houston, Texas. I do a couple of things. I'm a young adults pastor, and also I do a lot of administrative support for the church. And my wife and I, Michelle, will be married 9 years this December, and then Jovi, she'll be 3 in November.
I can't believe she's gonna be 3.
Yeah, it's crazy. She's such a fireball.
She is.
So expressive, man. Her facial expressions, and man, when she gets silly, she's like really silly. She gets in these, and she's just crazy.
I saw Michelle's Instagram story yesterday, and it was just cracking me up. Just the things that she was doing. I'm like, I don't understand, because you guys are both so chill. So she's like,
she's like screaming. She's loud. She's super sensitive.
You gotta love her. She is awesome. I can't believe she's gonna be 3. I'm so excited. Okay, so my first question for you guys is, and again, I guess we can just kind of go at the same order, like Emily will go and then Brian will go. But how did you find out you were a 9, and what was your reaction? How did you feel when you first found out, okay, I'm a 9?
Yeah, so I took the test initially. We were at RUI, which is Reach the U, training before you do the internship with Chi Alpha. Yeah. And I think someone there was saying that San Diego Chi Alpha actually has all of their staffers like take it. I can't confirm that for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what they were saying. So yes, so we got on the subject of it, and so everyone at our table like decided to take the test. So that's when I took the test, and it told me I was a 9, and I was like, okay. And I mean, I don't, like you were even saying, like, I feel like I don't really put like the most amount of weight on this, obviously, but I think that like these personality tests are so fun. And honestly, this is one that I really felt like is such a good tool to use to understand myself and others. And so when I took it, my reaction was like, oh, okay, there are like some things here that really do resonate with me that I don't think realized resonated with me.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
I felt the same way.
I like read it, and I can't even think off the top of my head what some of them were, but I was like, oh man, no, wait, yeah, I do that. I never realized I did that. Okay.
When you told me you were a 9, Emily, I was like, yes. I totally see that, and I think it suits you very well. But that's really cool.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, so I found out that I was a 9 at work. We did just like this leadership exercise together as a staff, and we took the test and we came back and we talked about it, and I found out that I was a 9. And you know, when I was like reading the paragraph of like what a 9 is, the strengths and weaknesses, blind spots and all that stuff, I'm like, oh man, how does it know me? It knows me so well, you know. But I was able to kind of like for the first time really see like in front of me in words an explanation of some of the things that I think and how I feel and how I approach things. And so, yeah, it definitely resonated with me. There was also a little part of me that wanted to be like, man, this thing doesn't know me. You don't know me. Don't put me in a box. But yeah, it was definitely revealing. And I think for me, it helps me understand how I see things and approach things, but then also like how to better myself, how to see where the flaws are with the 9 and counteract that and be a better person, be a better me.
I totally agree with that. At first, I think all workplaces should make their employees take the Enneagram, because it would help so much with just the relationships between coworkers and even staff members at like churches or like staff like ministries. I think it helps. We did that for our internship. We all took the Enneagram, and it's helped us so much, even just become like a family within our internship. And
Yeah.
so it's so like, I think it just helps people understand how other people operate and like giving more
Yeah.
grace, I guess, but also challenging each other, like you said, and like helping each other grow. I think I've even, and like since I've found out about it, I think I've even grown from it. Just like realizing, you know how it talks about the slothfulness of a 9?
Yes, I was just thinking that in my head.
Yeah, like just realizing
Yes.
how I shut down sometimes and how I can like retreat when I don't feel safe or I'm overwhelmed. It's like, and how can I
Yeah.
combat that? And like, and yeah, so it's been very, very helpful. What is y'all's favorite part about being a 9?
Yes. I think I really like the how empathetic 9s tend to be. I feel like I'm someone that I like the fact that when I see someone in a situation, I feel like I empathize with that and it helps me walk through that. So like in small group leading, I feel like it helps in understanding people in my small group of like, okay, hey, I see why you acted this way. Like, okay, like in the understanding. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
Instead of like being so quick to judge of like, oh, like this, that, or the other, but being like, okay, no, like what was their thought process here? What were they thinking? And how can we like work through this? If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yes, and like for those people who don't know what small group leading is, basically, we all have been or are a part of a ministry, and when you've gotten to a certain point in your walk with the Lord, you're going to want to disciple other people, or you're going to want to lead other people to God. And this is a way of just basically living life with them. And so small group leading is usually like a group of people, and you are just living life with them and telling them about Jesus. And so I agree with you, Emily, because I feel like even me, like when I've small group led, a lot of the feedback that I get from my you know what? Give me 1 second. My cat is on the table. I'm so glad I can edit this. Even when I've small group led, a lot of the feedback that I've gotten from my people is I don't feel like I'm judged by you when I talk to you about my problems or the things I'm struggling with, or I feel like comforted when I'm around you. And I feel like that's all kind of like a part of just like being a 9. So yeah, I totally get you.
Yeah, I really feel like because, 9s are peacemakers, we get along with a lot of people really well. And that has to do with, being empathetic and listening to people and understanding where they're coming from. So I guess my favorite part is we can pretty much get along with almost anybody.
So true.
Very abrasive personalities, but we can manage to try to get along and have a conversation with just about anybody. And I guess that's the part that I like the most is that, doesn't matter like who you are or where you're from or where you're coming from, we can manage to have a conversation with you, and have, or bring peace to a situation.
Yes.
The empathy part, allows us to listen to somebody, see where they're coming from, hear them out, and then help them think through their situation or whatever they're dealing with. So I guess for me, it's that relational connection, that peacemaking part of us, wants to connect with a person and be genuine.
Yeah. Have you guys ever gotten the comment, I don't think you have any enemies, or I think everybody likes you? So many times, which is such a gift because I feel like it's so like, it just helps even in like wanting to reach people, and like it just helps with like not coming off a certain way, or like your demeanor really means a lot. And I think it's different for all the other numbers. Like Michelle, your wife, is aggressive, like an 8. And like, so I've heard a lot of like, I remember her telling her telling us sometimes, people think I'm intimidating. Like, what the heck? I'm not. I'm super nice, and it's like so different for the different numbers. So it's so funny how like for a 9, it's like you're so chill. Like everybody likes you. I don't get it. So what is? It's switching gears a little bit. What is your least favorite part about being a 9? And you don't have to have one, but or something that you struggle with. Maybe word it a little. You don't have to like word it like, oh, I hate this, but something that you struggle about being a 9.
Yeah, I feel like struggle-wise, and I don't know, hate might be a strong word, like you said, but like indecisiveness to my core. Like, and I feel like that drives me up the wall about myself, because there's so many times where like I want to make a decision, like I really do, but I honestly just don't know. And I don't know if either of you relate to that. Maybe it's just a me thing, but I'm pretty indecisive in a lot of things in my life. And so thankfully the Lord is good, and he helps me with that in those moments of being like, okay, if this is like a big matter, he helps me out. But yeah, like even in the smallest of things, like people will be like, where do you want to eat? I'm like, I don't care. And they're like, no, but you do care. Like, where do you want to go? And I'm like, when I tell you I really don't care, like I don't. Like, just pick up a face. So,
so true.
So, and I think I was reading somewhere that that's like one of the big differences between like 2s and 9s is it's because I feel like they mistype consistently between those two. And a good identifier is 2s typically, if you ask them, like for instance, like where they want to eat or like what they want, they'll have like an underlying thing that they really do desire. They just want to keep the peace and they don't want to bring it out. And they'll go with whatever anyone else wants because they'd rather be unhappy than someone else. But 9s are genuinely like, no, like we really don't know. So,
yeah. So funny because like I feel like I used to be like that, but I have an 8 wing. I think I have a strong 8 wing, and I used to think I had a 1 wing, but I really don't because I'm not that organized in my everyday life. I think I've gone in far. Like I'm much more organized now than I used to be. But when it comes to making decisions, I used to hate making decisions. But I think with growing a little bit, like as I grow a little bit, my 8 wing has like become really strong, and now I make decisions only when I have to, only when I absolutely like. If nobody around me is saying anything, I'm like, oh my, I'm very impatient, so I'm like, let's just do this, and I'll like put a little option out there, and I'm like, we're not doing this today, like, like it's just. But yeah, I don't know if you feel like that, Brian, but.
Well, you know, my wife, she's an 8. And so she brings, you know, like, let's kick down the door, let's go.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have an 8 wing. I think it's a 1 wing.
I think so too.
Same.
Some of the, like, let's bring the step by step rules and let's make it all organized. And so I think that part comes out of me, you know, quite a bit. But man, my least favorite part about being a 9 is sometimes we can, because we're so easygoing and maybe slow to make decisions or plans or ideas, we can just kind of blend in and go with the flow with it, what everyone else is thinking or saying or plans and ideas. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go, let's do it. And then you really end up not forming your own idea or plan and doing what you think is right, or at least expressing what you need to express. And so I think for me that I can see that pattern happening in my life where it's just kind of like, okay, like, but I really think like we could have done this, like this would have been nice to do, but it's like, but you got to speak up. You got to be willing to go there. And if it causes confrontation, then it causes confrontation. But I guess it's like, you know, be true to yourself and say what you think, you know, needs to be said. And so I guess that's my least favorite part is, you know, the what's the word I'm thinking of? Like we lean towards that. We gravitate towards that to just like go with the flow. You know what I mean?
That is so true. That is so true, especially for creative 9s, like, because so all of us here actually have some of that. So Emily actually studied photography at SAM. It was photography, right? Or was it art?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Photography. Yeah.
Brian is a photographer. He roasts his own coffee. He has a lot of talents. he's very studious and he like loves to learn things. Like he'll read a textbook about coffee, and I don't have the patience for that. So I don't know. But anyway, creative nines, I think that's the most that is when it happens the most, because and it can be heartbreaking, because I've seen it in my own life too, where even starting this podcast, it was hard for me to just do it. I was sitting on it for, I think it had been like 6 months already, or 6 months to a year, where I'm like, oh, I'd like to start a podcast, and it just never happened because I was so afraid to like make myself, or like for people to think that I was full of myself, like. And this is another question that is not in the questions that I sent you, but I wanted to add it in because I thought about it late last night, which is, and I'll share in case it's confusing to you, because my question was going to be, did you think you were another number before, like when you were younger, and how did it shift? And I'll give you an example. For me, I really do believe that I was either like a 3 or a 7 when I was younger, and 3s are very like energetic and like go-getters, and they kind of come off as like full of themselves sometimes, or too confident. And I remember when I was younger, I definitely had a lot of confidence, and I was like, yeah, like I had so many dreams, and I was a dreamer. But throughout, like when I was growing up, different things happened in my life where I think I hurt people by coming off a certain way. And so they would say things like, okay, Erica, it's not all about you, or like, let's not, like, you're being too much right now. And so that made me retreat. And as I like kind of grew up, I was like, okay, I'm just going to blend in. Like you said, Brian, like I'm just going to blend in, and I'm not going to like, I'm going to keep the peace because I don't like conflict and I don't like people not liking me. So I'm just going to like, do you know what I mean? So I guess my question would be like, do you think you were another number before, or were you just always a 9?
Yeah. So I feel like I've always been a 9. I've always been that person that blends in, like in school, like high school, middle school, whatever it be. Like I was like that quiet kid and blended in a lot. I do think I've grown a lot, but yeah, for the most part, I think I've always been like the quiet type of just to blend in, not like have an uproar of anything. But I think it's also a lot of like the family I was brought up in is very like, we don't deal with confrontation. We don't talk about things.
Oh yeah.
And so, but as I've like grown, I feel like I've grown more into the part of the 9 where I'm like, no, I don't enjoy conflict, but I do know that conflict is actually healthy at certain points. I just am good about weighing, like, okay, is this a situation that is worth bringing conflict up in, or do I need to rock the boat?
Especially in ministry. There's no way around it. You're just like, okay, cool, we're here. I'm going to go cry for 5 minutes, and then I'll be back and we can deal with this.
Yes, like let me hype myself up a little bit, get amped up, and then I might be shaking the entire time, but we're gonna do this.
Yes.
I feel like I've always been a 9. I feel like I've always been a 9. Even when I was younger, I say got along with everybody in school, just really easygoing. But now, now that I'm older, a little bit more mature, I know what a 9 is. I know that I am a 9. I really feel like maybe there could be some shifting happening now. And I think there has been. I think us being in Chile for a couple of years as missionaries definitely, puts you out there, and you're going to have to be a go-getter and get things done and initiate things. And so I think some of those life experiences have helped shape me and push me to not all of a sudden not be a 9 anymore, but still help me to understand that there's some areas that I need to improve and build upon.
Yeah.
So I think some of it could be happening now. For instance, like you were mentioning how it took you a while to like actually get the podcast going. It was a real true desire, but it's that 9, it's that stubbornness, that caution, that let me think about it. Well, I don't know. I don't want to be pretentious. And, it was the same thing for me with coffee. Like yesterday, we just sold the first 2 bags ever. It was a big deal.
Hey, that's awesome.
Ever to create a logo. It took me forever just to get an Instagram to promote it, to do these things, and like
I remember.
months and months. I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm ready. But like anybody else, like a different number on the Enneagram would have been like, yeah, man, I sold a bag, a year ago, and I'm like promoting, and I've got all this stuff going. And it's just like the 9 is like much slower, very cautious. And
Yes.
so now I feel myself kind of at times thinking like, no, just stop thinking about it. Just do it. Now for other programs, that's like probably not a good thing. They need to stop and think about it because they're moving too quickly. But I know like for myself, it's like, okay, I need to exercise that muscle a little bit more. Like, okay, you did think about it, but like, just go ahead, try it, do it, take a leap of faith, see what happens, So it's like,
it's so interesting that you said that. And I think that your one wing came out when you were, because I remember seeing you think about it and I'm like, just do it. But I think when your one wing came out, because I remember you saying, yeah, but I really want to do it right. Like, I want to have a good logo. I want to make sure my beans are like, actually taste good, and that people want to, like, I want to get better at roasting. And like, so you practiced a lot before you actually sold your first bag. So I think it's so interesting. And I think I definitely see the one side of you when you were like, let me do this right and with integrity. So that's really cool. So when you're thinking about relationships, what makes you feel most loved as a 9?
Yes. Most loved, I feel like when it comes to my relationships with the people around me, I feel like when people like ask me for my input, if that makes sense, because I do need to work in and I feel like as 9s, like speaking up and being like, hey, okay, you need to assert yourself sometimes. But I feel really appreciated when someone's like, hey, like, what do you think, Emily? Like, what's your take on this? Like, what do you think we should do here? Or what's your opinion? I feel like that helps me feel appreciated, like being reminded, like, hey, like, I can contribute something useful here. Like the Lord gives me ideas too. And he can use me and speak through me in that. And so being reminded of that, I feel like is like the biggest thing. And so that is what makes me feel appreciated for sure.
Yes, I agree with that. Because it makes you kind of feel seen. Like, okay,
yeah,
you care about what I have to say, and I don't have to like put myself out there, and you really do see me and you care about me. So yes, I totally get that. Brian?
yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely. When people, bring you into the loop or bring you into the decision-making process and value your opinion, I think for a 9, that's a big deal, because we could probably be the quieter end. But I think also for myself would be just having those words of encouragement, right? Like I said, we could be a little bit slower to do things, a little bit stubborn in that area, and we need that extra push. And so having those words of affirmation or encouragement, like, hey, you can do it. You got it, man. Just do it. That helps. That helps build our confidence. Like, okay, like I probably overthinking this, and you're right. I just need to do it,
Yeah.
and having that push and that encouragement to do those things really helps.
Yeah. On the other side of the coin, I was going to say cone. On the other side of the cone, what makes you feel not appreciated?
Dude, I feel like when I finally, like, if I do speak up, with whatever I say just being brushed aside, if that makes sense. Not as much as like, it's totally fine if someone disagrees or is like, oh, like maybe not. But when someone just completely is like, disregards it, I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to speak up then. If that makes sense. I feel like that's something. Or if someone, like, I'm like saying a point and someone just talks over me, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to talk then. Like, if you're not going to listen, I just won't say anything.
Yep, I resonate with that.
Yes, Ryan.
So,
do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel the same way about that. It's just like, hey, I'm trying to speak. It's a big deal for me to get this out there, and then if you're cut off, you're like, okay, why did I even try?
Yeah.
That's like the negative side of it. I guess I don't like being hurried into having to make a decision.
Yes.
Because like they say nines, that they call it being slothful or we're procrastinators, and sometimes it's not that. It's not laziness. It's not procrastination. It's just, hey, I just need time to process this. And when I'm being forced to make a really hurried decision on the spot, it can be stressful. I want time to think about it and process it and like play out all the scenarios, the domino effect. But sometimes, time doesn't allow for that. You have to make a decision. And so I guess for me, that brings a little bit of stress. You're like, oh, I need to decide this, yes or no. I don't know what to do. I need time to think about this. I need like a whole week. You don't have a week. And so I guess it's just, having to make a hurried decision, I guess, when it's not necessary.
Or even people think like, I feel like people think sometimes that you're not doing anything, but you are, but it's all internal and you're not telling anybody. Like that's what happened because like so PK and I both recently preached for Chi Alpha. So he preached the week before me and I preached this week. And it's so funny because when he was preparing for his sermon, he's a 7 and with a wing 8, I think. So he processes in these things a lot. And when he was prepping, he was always talking to me about it and like telling me like, can I practice with you? Which is fine. Like I'm so happy to be there for him. But like he was a very much like, okay, this is what I'm doing next and this is what I'm doing next. And like, and for me, I was doing everything alone and not talking to anybody. And so he would be like, girl, have you even worked on your sermon? I'm like, actually, I have my whole outline done yet already, and I just haven't told you about it. So let me do this by myself because I sometimes I just need to like internally brainstorm and just put it all on paper and not tell anybody about it until I'm ready to tell people about it. So some people might see that as procrastinating because they don't know what's happening behind the scenes because you're not talking about it. But really, like you said, Brian, we're just processing. We're trying to get it all out there and make it good. All right. What if you could describe your most ideal, your most restful day? What would that look like?
Most restful day? Oh, man. I feel like, one, it would be really cold outside. That would be like the starter. If it's cold outside, like, would be the dream.
Nice.
But I feel like a restful day is like waking up, like not having to rush or do anything, just being super chill. Like have my coffee, have breakfast food because I'm really passionate about breakfast food. But yeah, just not really having to have like a whole agenda and not having to do a whole lot. And just, I don't know, like spending the day inside, like reading or for like part of it, like in the morning, and then like going out, I don't know, going hiking, doing something with someone who, like with a friend who is restful. Because I'm pretty introverted, but I feel like I can't spend an entire day by myself, but I also can't just like be with just anyone. It has to be someone who is restful, not someone that drains me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Where I have to be like super on all the time because that's exhausting.
Yes.
But someone I can just like hang out and be with, like a friend that is good for that. So yeah, I feel like that would be like the best day, is just like starting off slow, having like just spending time with myself, reading, doing all of that, have coffee, and then hang out with someone.
50 degrees outside.
Yeah, the dream. It's 115 million over here, but it's fine.
It's like all desert over there too.
It's so bad.
Brian, I feel like yours will be similar.
Yeah, very similar. I was writing this out. I actually wrote it out. And Michelle and I were laughing about it last night. And I'm like, okay, it's probably going to be in the fall or winter. It's going to be in the 60s.
Yes.
I'm probably going to have like some sports and college football on the TV. I'm going to open up the patio door and let all the cold air in the house, open up the blinds to the windows, have some coffee, read some books, sit outside, not go anywhere, just stay at home. Just be at home, lay down on the couch. And that was, that was my ideal day, just being at home, nice cold weather, nowhere to go, just lounging around, sit outside,
Awesome. It's literally word for word. And it's so funny because even as a 9, I'm like, I was thinking about it too, and it was very similar to both of y'all. I'm like, man, I'd really love for it to be fall, and I'd want to make coffee in the morning, have a slow morning. I don't want anybody telling me, yeah, slow morning, reading, and maybe I do like shopping by myself. Like I like going to market by myself. That's super restful for me. Like I just like want to walk around Target and look at all of the sales. That is like, so it's so funny how similar it is. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, look at your doggy. He's so cute.
This is Oliver. He just wants attention. So.
Yes, he's so sweet. But yeah, no, that sounds awesome. I do miss the cold weather. It is in the valley here too. It's so hot and humid. It's so gross. It's not the best. I'm excited. And it's like funny because people are already decorating for fall. And I'm like, I'm with you.
Serious?
I want to do that. So yeah, people are already.
Maybe if we put enough fall decorations up, the cold front will come.
Yes. Not likely in Texas, but we can dream. We can dream. Okay. Two more questions, but one more question is about being a 9. One more question about being 9. What is something, and you don't have to have something for this, but what is something that you would want people to know about being a 9?
I think it goes back, and I think I already said this. We're not pushovers. It's not that we're pushovers. It's that we really do just count the cost when it comes to conflict. I know people who are very much like, they like love conflict. It brings joy into their life. They're like, let's knock this door down. Let's take care of it, like blow it up and then we'll clean up the pieces. And I'm like, okay, but like if we don't have to make a mess, then we don't need to make it.
Yeah.
And so I'm very much, I feel like that, like it's not being a pushover, it's really counting the cost of, is this something worth bringing that conflict in and making a big deal about it? Is this a hill I want to die on? Or is it something that I can like guide in a more gentle direction, if that makes sense?
Yes, Brian, what would you want people to know about being a 9?
What do I want people to know about being a 9? I guess is that we do, even though we may be, on the slower end of things or not too pushy, we do have good ideas. We do have good opinions and good thoughts and perspectives and good ideas. And we do have stuff to contribute, just allowing us the time to, or giving us the room, to speak up, to hear from us, because we do have good stuff to offer. And, I know we could probably be on the quieter and not, like I said, not too pushy. But man, we have so much good things to offer a team or a group of people or ministry, and just being allowed the opportunity to put forth our ideas and opinions. And then also, having, 9s need time to process. So giving us a little bit of time, a little bit of room, to process things and come back, especially if you're like me, a 9 with a wing 1, if you want to do it and you want to do it right, so, okay, let me think about how to get this right. That way we don't have to just hurry up and do it and mess it up. And then we have to go back and do it again, pick up the pieces, so yeah, giving us time and room to make a decision, but then also like recognizing that we do have some good stuff to say, and giving us that opportunity.
That's good. That's so good. Thank you guys so much. I do have one more question that's unrelated, but Thank you all so much for doing this. I hope people could understand nines a little better and give us some more grace, and just learn how to grow too, and like how to be healthier in our number. Because this show is called Take a Little Coffee Break, and I'm really sad I don't have coffee with me right now, but it's okay. What is your, and I feel like I know Brian's answer to this, but what is your go-to coffee order when you go to a coffee shop? Or if you're not a coffee drinker, what's your favorite beverage to get, or tea or whatever?
Yes. One, I don't know how people survive without coffee. I love coffee a lot. But yes, I feel like if I'm going to a coffee shop, my go-to order is usually a latte of some sort, but with no flavoring, because I don't like my coffee sweet like at all. Maybe if it's iced sometimes, but yeah, but usually a latte, usually with some sort of milk alternative, because milk and I don't get along. But yeah,
girl, same.
Oat milk is probably my favorite alternative so far with coffee, but you can't get it everywhere. So
which one?
Usually almond milk. Oat milk.
Oh yes, I love oat milk.
Yes.
I usually find that when I have a hot latte, oat milk is the best, and almond milk is good with iced coffee. That's what I found.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ryan.
For me, okay, well, first of all, I roast my own coffee. So I make coffee at home a lot, and I do a pour over.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, I'll either do the Chemex or the V60. But if I'm going to go to like a coffee shop, I like espresso, but I always gravitate towards the pour over. So I'll order a V60 pour over or a Chemex. And my favorite, anything Ethiopian origin is awesome.
Yeah. What kind of notes does an Ethiopian have again?
It just depends on the coffee and process, but they tend to be, sweet, floral tasting, very light tasting, and it's not like a super thick sludgy coffee. It's usually on the lighter end. Tea-like, some people describe it, it's almost like drinking tea.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I knew you were gonna say black coffee. I was like, he's just. And every time we go to a coffee shop, the V60, those are so cool looking, or just like a simple Chemex or pour over. Well, thanks guys so much. This was so much fun. If you guys want to check out Harbour Coffee, I'm going to link it, and I'm gonna tag. If you're watching this on Instagram, I'm gonna tag it in the description. And if not, I'm gonna put it in the show notes. If you're watching like on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, which we're on Apple Podcasts officially.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
You're so official.
I know. I feel like I'm official, and I hope if you guys want, you can go and rate it and put a little review. I think that would help with views and stuff. So, but yes, I'm so excited for Apple Podcasts. So I'll put in the show notes, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Erica. This is awesome.
Yeah.